All right, Bruchim Aboyim, welcome everybody. We know we paskin like Beis Hillel, Ma'aseh v'Hoilech, right? That we add when it comes to Hanukkah. So let's add. We always learn a little bit from the Kedushas Levi on Thursday night, and we already did. But we'll learn a little bit more. We'll learn something from his Hanukkah drushes. So, the verb Siyata D'Shmayim or Maimer Chazal will explain with divine providence and aid the stage. Excuse me, you have to excuse me. I'm getting over a cold. The statement of our sages of blessed memory. This can be found in the Talmud, Tractate Shabbos, Chaf Beis Mud Aleph, the Tractate of the Sabbath, 22a. V'ner Chanukah the Flige Chad Amar. There's two opinions. One is that we're permitted, we're allowed to use the light of Hanukkah for our own secular needs, and the other opinion is we're not allowed to. And we follow the psak, the ruling is, according to the opinion, that we're not allowed to use the light of the Hanukkah candles during the time of the mitzvah for any secular purpose, and that's why you have to have extra light around, have the lights on, have the shamas and so forth. The shamas not just to light the other candles, but in case we use the light, we say it's from the shamas light, the servant light. So anyway, I guess the deacon light, you call it. So anyway, Al Pi Mashal, we can say the following parable. Melech Adir Balav Ani, a mighty king came to visit the house of a pauper, of a poor person. Miderech Hateva, Bavaya Melech Adir, Roin covered Osho Gdulaso. So the nature of the world, human nature, is that a mighty king, he wants to show off his wealth and his greatness. And so the poor person, he's very happy to see such wealth of the king. He never in his life saw, in all his days, never saw such abundant wealth. You know, people enjoy to see interesting things, even if it's not there. Why people, they go to museums and they look at the gems, and they look at artifacts, and sometimes these are very valuable items, and people enjoy going to museums and looking at these things. But if the poor person is intelligent, he's not just enjoying seeing the material of the wealthy items that the king is showing off to him. Kedushas Levi Hasidic, because he knows that by the king, all of these material things are nothing. They're a small thing. The wealth, especially whatever he's bringing to the poor person's house, he's not bringing his most expensive things. He's bringing some things that he doesn't care so much about, right? The bigger joy is not whatever trinkets that the king is showing off, but the bigger joy is, wow, I had the king in my house. The king was a guest in my house. That's a much bigger thing. So too is this. When God does miracles for people, there's a certain person who's not so intelligent, not so spiritual. He's just happy. Wow, I had this miracle. That means that I have some material benefit from this. Either I'm saved from something bad, or I gain something good, and that's in the material world. All right, very good. So the simple person, just like the pauper, the less intelligent pauper, the less sophisticated pauper, who rejoices just seeing the wealth of the king, or even if the king gives him something as a gift, and he's enjoying that gift itself, right? I'll tell you something like this, right? Certain tzaddikim, they give out money, right? The Lubavitch Rebbe used to give out dollar bills. Hanukkah, tzaddikim give out coins, right? And I got once a $50 bill from Satmar Rebbe from Kiryas Yoel on Purim. He gave me a $50 bill and he says, "This is for you." Now, a regular person would get that and he's going to go spend the money. Me, I keep it with me because it's a blessing from the Rebbe. I'm not going to spend that $50 bill, you know. Lubavitch Rebbe, actually, when you give out the dollar bills, he'd expect you to give it to charity, but most people, they would keep that dollar bill and give a different dollar to charity, right? But I remember hearing from the same Satmar Rebbe giving out coins Hanukkah, and there were some kids, they got the coins, they didn't realize what it means to get a coin from the Rebbe. They weren't educated, and they were putting the coins in the soda machine to buy a soda instead of keeping this as a blessing from the tzaddik, right? So just enjoying the miracle and the physical benefit from the miracle, or enjoying a gift from the king, that is just that's like taking the coin that you got from the Rebbe and putting in the soda machine and buying a soda, drinking the soda, right? Of course, sometimes the Rebbe is giving money for the person to spend, right? Because he's a poor person, he needs the money. It's a different story. But this was on Purim. It was, so I wrote on it. I got from the Rebbe. I was thinking of framing it, but I never got around to it. I hope I got that out of that other car. So, better get that car back from. So anyway. The other person, he's not rejoicing with the miracles. He knows God created all the universes. And he's able to do everything. Efes simchaso v'nisim she'al yedei hanes roya she'kadosh baruch hu mislabesh kiviyachol v'nei adam mida osa nisim l'vnei adam. So the slightest bit of the joy is in the miracles. That through the miracle, the real joy is that God is clothing himself, so to speak, among human beings. When he's doing he's doing miracles to people. Al zeh samach. For this he's rejoicing. Shemelech Adar is asking, v'yislabesh atzmo kivyachol lavoy b'vnei adam. That this great king is a guest and he's clothing himself, so to speak, to come among human beings. Of course, God's glory fills all the universe, and there's no place empty of him. But we have this experience of God's glory in a greater sense when miracles happen. So one who says that we're rejoicing because that you're allowed to use the light, that's like a person who is rejoicing because he's enjoying something in this world, a joy from this world. That God did a favor for him, and this world is given for a person to enjoy. For this reason, you're allowed to use the light. That's a very short-sighted view. I remember, I think it was John Stewart, he was like, oh, it's a big deal. We had alright, so oil lasted a little bit longer. That's such a big miracle. He's missing the point. That's like the poor person who's just happy that the king gave him a gift. Alright, so what kind of gift did we give him? Oh, that's what you're giving me? But, oh, that's very nice. Thank you, shkoyach, right? That's so short-sighted. Or even with the wars or whatever else, it's very short-sighted. The real miracle of Hanukkah is, right? Utzu eitza v'sufar, dabru davavula yakum, ki manukel, right? With all the wars and everything, the enemies, they come up with some kind of, it says in Isaiah, Utzu eitza v'sufar, they're going to get some advice, but it will be abrogated. Dabru davav alayakum, they're going to say a word, but it will not be fulfilled. Why? Ki manukel, because God is with us. Now, the short-sighted person will be thinking, all right, God is with us, and with that, we're going to have this material gain that we will be successful in a war. But the person who is wise understands that no, it's the other way around. It's the winning of the war or the miracle points to something much greater. Ki manukel, God is with us. Right? Like the name Emmanuel in the book of Isaiah. That's the same verse. The same Isaiah says that, so meaning it's not that, I remember, I think Glenn Beck, he said, it's the difference between the idea of manifest destiny, right? That the American vision has two approaches. One is that, and it's the same thing with how the Jewish people look. The less wise people look at it, God is with us, therefore we are going to get all this stuff. We're going to get this land and this and that. But the wise person understands the other way around. Whatever God gives us, that's all well and good. But the greatest gift is ki manukel. God is with us. And so therefore, what the miracle points to, because what's the Hebrew word for miracle is a nes. Nes means like a flag, something that's lifted up as a sign and a symbol for something greater, that we look up at that flag that's lifted up and we humble our hearts before our Father in heaven, right? The story in the book of Numbers of the snake, that Moses was commanded to put a copper snake up on a nes, like on a pole that's lifted up, the people should look up to it. Now, the book of Kings tells us some of the people started to bring incense to the snake. So King Hezekiah, who was the Messiah that Isaiah was talking about there, King Hezekiah destroyed that copper snake. Some people, but this is a relic from Moses. How can you destroy a relic from Moses? It doesn't matter. If the people thought that had some independent power, and it took them away from God, it's just it's blinding their eyes. But the rabbis of the Talmud tell us the opposite. The Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah says the purpose. So even though the Mishnah in Pesachim says that was a very good thing that the king Hezekiah, the anointed king, did, that he destroyed that snake, and the sages praised him for it. So why did God tell Moses to make the snake? So the rabbis of the Talmud in the Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah say, does a snake, a copper snake on a pole, bring life or death? No. Rather, they look up to heaven because they were being bitten by snakes. And so this says in the book of Numbers, whoever looked at the snake, he would live. So the rabbis say, what's the point of that? It was up on a pole, and they looked up to heaven, and their heart was humbled before their Father in heaven. And that's why they were healed from the snake bites. That was the antivenom. So this is what we have here. Don't look at the snake. Let your heart be humbled before your Father in heaven. Don't just look at the miracle. Don't just look at the physical benefit you got from the miracle. The miracle is a banner that's lifted up on a pole to make us look up to heaven. Of course, God is just as much here as He is in heaven. He's in our hearts. He surrounds us. He fills us. He surrounds all worlds. He fills all worlds. There's no place empty of God. But our heart has to be humbled before God and rejoice that ki imanu kel, that God is with us. And so that's why we paskin that we do not have benefit from the light of the Hanukkah candle. So it says the heilige Levi Hasidic with source Hashem in prediction, the heilige prediction of Rav that it's prohibited to use the light of the Hanukkah lamps, and that's how we rule. That's the ruling. That we're not rejoicing just, all right, we won a war and we had the government back from the Hellenists, and then they fell and they brought the Romans in, and they, so that's not any big deal. The big deal is that God is with us, even in the darkest places, even the most difficult times, even wherever, in all places and all times, that God is with us, that He encloses His light among human beings. Such a person who is wise isn't thinking about that material benefit that he got out of God's gift, but rather God Himself. That's who we rejoice with, that God is with us, that God has His light among us. The rejoicing is that God, He causes His holiness to dwell among us, and in me, and in you, and in everybody. He's not thinking about this world at all. He's thinking of higher things in this world. And things of heavenly things are not given for material enjoyment. Because as the scripture says, no eye sees except you, God. For this reason, and that's why that opinion says it's prohibited to use the light, and that is the halacha, that is the ruling, that is the law. And so therefore, this is what we have to rejoice. And that we can rejoice with all the time, because God is with us, and God loves us, and He allows Himself to be enclosed within us. He's not only up somewhere in a far away heavenly sphere. He is with us. So this thing is very close to you. It's in your mouth and your heart to do it. That God is with us, and He is our guest in our home. And when we light those candles, that illumination of God's light is with us in our homes. And so that is what, and it's in all things That's what we have to rejoice with. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, hit the bell button, do all those good things. This is a great message. Let's get it out there. Let's share it with our friends, with our neighbors, with everybody, because it's a message that the whole world needs to hear, that God is with us and with each and every one of you. When I say us, it means all of us. And God can be a guest in your home and your life and in all things. And this is the message of Judaism. People think that this sounds like some other religion. It's not. This is a purely 100% Jewish message. This is what the Torah teaches. This is Hasidic wisdom. And this is something that it can apply to every human being. It's not just for the Jews. This is a message because God made every human being in the image of God, and God loves you, and that should bring you the greatest joy in the world. Of course, we thank God for all the material blessings He gives us. We can't be ungrateful. We have to show God gratitude for those things. But we have to understand, we have to have wisdom and discernment to understand that the greatest gift is God Himself. And that He gave us human beings the capability to, on whatever level we can, to understand that, to grasp that. There's nothing greater in the whole universe than that. Because the angels, they are given that as a free gift, even if their understanding is much higher than our understanding. But we have a challenge. You know, I was sitting a week ago, Friday, tomorrow will be a week ago, with a college professor. He marched with Martin Luther King. He was friends with Martin Luther King. He was friends with a lot of great spiritual people. And he himself was a Christian for a while, and now he's an atheist. And he thinks he's so smart that Columbus discovered America, like my Baba Shal would say. Mazel from Columbus. Getroffen Israel Chazach. You know, I remember Rabbi Avram Goldstein from Scranton, the Rebbe from Scranton. He told me, he said, you know, they bring him sometimes, he's a Ger Tzedek, they bring him sometimes to speak to Satmar Bachrim, to give them chizik. And then one Bacher came along and he said, I don't believe in God. And he said, oh, what an honor to meet you. You know what the Rambam didn't know. You're smarter than the Rambam, than Maimonides. And that's one thing for a Nudnik Shmedrik little kid to say such a thing. He's a stupid kid. And that's the challenge that we have as human beings. But here's a big professor who was a man of faith, and he dropped it all. And I was giving my testimony. We were having a conversation. It's going to be on the radio. And I was saying the greatness is that every human being is in the image of God, and it gives me hope. Because human beings don't give me hope, but God gives me hope, and my faith gives me hope. And I was giving my testimony of the Torah to this atheist who used to be a religious man. And he was scoffing and this and that. And so that shows us the dangers that we have in this world, that people can fall into atheism and so forth. And so that we overcome that, and we come to an understanding of God on whatever level we can. Obviously, we can never fully understand God. But on our level, that's a gift of God. But it's a gift that we have to work on, that we earn through hard work to get to that point. Learn like Rabbi Victor Miller, who was probably the greatest Jewish apologist of the 20th century. Read his books that teach about these ideas, and we'll come to an understanding of God through those material blessings. But the point of all of that is not just appreciating, count your blessings and appreciating the material blessings. The point of all of that is to point to God. The miracle that is that, like we said, it's like the Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah says that we look up to heaven and our heart is humbled before our Father in heaven and we're healed. We should be all worthy to all that healing, just like what the Mishnah says in Rosh Hashanah, and be worthy to see only goodness and happiness and prosperity. But more than that, all the goodness and happiness and prosperity should bring us closer to God and bring us the rejoicing that God is with us. All right. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, and please share this message. Such an important message. All right. We love you all. Be well.